Hello everyone, welcome to MBA Karo. So today we have day 16 of hot summer. I hope you have completed the half of the series and enjoyed the sessions thus far. So today we are going to do reading comprehension passages, and in the last class on reading comprehension we did science based. Today we shall see passages based on social sciences that involve art, history, economics, etc. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media platform. And this is the schedule which we have been following. This is day 16 and we are done with half of the series. If you have not yet watched the previous parts, please do watch them and also watch the upcoming videos and boost your preparation for CAT 2024. In case you are preparing for CAT and are looking for a structured course, you can enroll in our CAT 2024 batch, and you will get all these benefits. Along with the classes, you get practice sheets, you get full length and sectional tests, plus GDPI preparation for your interviews. And you can use code HOT to get 20% off till the end of this month. So please pause the video, try to read the passage first and then answer the questions and then look at the answers and match your score in the end. So let's begin with the first passage. Okay, so in the meanwhile you can read the passage and I'll explain the passage to you. So it says that in 400 years English went from being a small language spoken in the British Isles to become the most dominant language in the world. In the year 1600, at the end of Queen Elizabeth I's reign, English was spoken by 4 million people. By 2020s, at the end of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, that number has risen to nearly 2 billion. So 4 million to 2 billion in 400 years. Today, English is the main language in the United Kingdom, Ireland and US, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. And it's an international language in former British colonies such as India, Singapore, South Africa and Nigeria. It is Earth's lingua franca. So basically the first paragraph says that how English has spread over the past 400 years. It was primarily spoken in Britain. Now it has become the national language of it is the main language in some of the countries, plus it has expanded to the colonies of it's one of the main languages in the colonies of Britain. For some, English is Britain's greatest gift to the world. In an online interview with Conservative Home in May 2022, Suella Braverman, now the UK's Home Secretary, said she was proud of the British Empire for giving its colonies infrastructure, legal systems, civil service, militaries and of course the English language. On the other side of the political spectrum, in 2008, Gordon Brown, then the Prime Minister, delivered a speech in which he stated he wanted Britain to make new gift to the world by supporting anyone outside the UK who wished to learn English. In the same year, Times announced proposal of a new museum dedicated to the language to celebrate England's most elaborate gift to the world. The notion of English as a gift from Britain to the planet is so commonplace, it is almost unremarkable. Okay, so the first paragraph where it talks about the growth of English, this talks about English as a gift. Right? It says that it is very common, like UK's Home Secretary, previous Prime Minister, they all talk about that Britain has done one of the significant things, that's spreading English to the world, and like all these people are glorifying that English is a gift from Britain to the world. Okay, that's the gist of the paragraph. Now the next passage says English may have become universal but not everyone believes is a gift, right? So now it says when we introduce but, that means the passage is going to talk opposite of what is given in the second paragraph. Second paragraph said English is a gift. The third one says not everyone believes it is a gift. Then some examples. Many hold diametrically opposite views. In an article in the Guardian in 2018, journalist Jacob Mikhanovsky, so try name you can guess, it's a Russian name, okay, described English as a behemoth, bully, loudmouth thief, highlighting that the dominance of English threatens local cultures. Now how does it like English threatens local cultures and languages? Okay, due to how English continues to gain ground worldwide, many languages are becoming endangered or extinct. This is not only impacts relatively small languages but also larger languages such as Yoruba in Nigeria, which are pressured by English in business, trade, education and media and the technology. So it says that some people, Britishers, consider that it's a gift of Britain, but others believe that it is not a gift. It is in fact hampering the languages of different countries, because English is dominating in all these fields like business, trade, education, technology. Everywhere we use the language English, so it is impacting other languages, other global languages. For this reason, several scholars in the field of sociolinguistics consider English as a killer language. So these people call it killer language and have described as a kind of monster. So all these people are against this idea that English is a global language. They say that it is killing language. It's a deadly multi-headed hydra from Greek mythology. Those who see English from this perspective consider its global roots to form a linguistic imperialism. So they talk about that it is linguistic imperialism. Okay, a system of profound inequality between English and other languages which are crushed under the might of former colonial power, Britain, and the current world superpower, the US. So previously it was Britain, now currently the superpower is US, and they are suppressing other languages. So they consider it as a kind of imperialism, right? So they are crushing other languages. The concept of linguistic imperialism is a reminder that the historical root of dominance of English is 4 centuries of the British Empire. English was a heavy load on its conscience. It spread through space and time from the end of 16th century until the end of the empire in the second half of the 19th century, occurred in conjunction with imperial expansion involving land grabbing, genocide, slavery, famine, subjugation, looting and exploitation. So the way English has spread, it is not in a healthy manner, right? So it was due to the British Empire, which lasted for about 4 centuries, and as a result they had this imperial expansion which included all these things, and English expansion was also one of those things. So basically the passage more or less talks about that although English has grown, but it has not grown in a healthy manner. So that is the gist of the passage. Now the first question asks, the passage primarily discusses. So you need to answer it as per the passage. The historical rise of the English language. It discusses the historical rise, but historical rise कहाँ पे हो रहा है? This is only in the first para. Okay? Mainly first paragraph में होता है. The benefits of English as a global language. This is in second para. You are talking about the benefits, right? The negative consequences of the English dominance. So that is in third and fourth. Like after second paragraph, it talks about the negative one. The debate surrounding English as a gift or a weapon. So it is about the debate that is around the English as a gift of a weapon. Why debate? Because for some part of the passage, the author, the author is not biased toward anything, right? The author talks about this thing also. For some, English is a gift, so it's a debate. Like it's not the author is not saying that it is good or it is bad. It is comparing both things, giving the debate part. So in the first half, the author says that yes, it was spread, it grew to a global language. Some consider as a gift and other consider as a weapon. So it's a debate. It's not a one-sided tone of the passage. The passage mentions the endangerment of smaller languages due to the dominance of English. How does this most weaken the argument of those who view English as a gift? Now some people view English as a gift, right? So now how does this endangerment is weakening the argument? Okay, it highlights the potential for cultural homogenization with English dominance. It raises concerns about the loss of linguistic diversity in the world. It demonstrates the limitations of English as a language for global communication. It suggests a lack of interest in learning English among people speaking smaller languages. Okay, so when it talks about that endangerment, so it endangers, it talks about the loss of what is endangered. Like if you know about in geography, when you say endangered species, so you say that it is on the verge of extinction, right? So this passage basically raises concern loss of linguistic diversity. So when you talk about endangered means it has a threat that it might become extinct. So the answer is option B. The author uses the metaphor of a behemoth to describe English most likely to convey. Where does he use behemoth? So if you look at this paragraph, this third paragraph, it says English may have become universal. Jacob, this person, describes English as a behemoth, and it is saying bully, loudmouth, thief. So behemoth is kind of a beast. Okay, that's called a beast. Now obviously it is in a negative connotation. Even if you do not know what is the meaning of behemoth, that is fine, right? So why, in what? Now it does not describe the beauty and elegance of the language. It does not talk about the rapid growth and expansion. Yes, behemoth means something very large, but in a negative sense, right? It's a beast. Like if you read about this behemoth, it's a beast in mythology. The destructive and domineering nature of English, the unifying power, connecting power of English. So obviously it is talking about the destructive and domineering nature. So he says that like all these things, bully, loudmouth, thief, so all these suggest that it is a dominating language. Okay, so destructive and domineering nature of English, that is the right convey that we get from this expression, behemoth, bully, loudmouth and thief. The passage compares English to the Hydra from Greek mythology to highlight. Again, that's an easy question. So you need to find that where it has been highlighted. So Hydra from Greek mythology. Even if you do not know like Hydra, so it already gives the deadly multi-headed Hydra. Okay, so even if you do not know, if this part was not given, that like the Hydra, suppose even if this part was given, now we need to see that, read the line before. It says several scholars in the field of social linguistics consider English as a killer language. So Hydra is a sea animal from Greek mythology, which is very deadly. Okay, now it talks about killer language. Okay, then again says that the next line talks about linguistic imperialism. So this means that the passage basically talks about the threatening nature of English, right? So killer language. So which of these talks about this? The threat English poses to linguistic diversity, the language's adaptability, so it is not talking about adaptability, complex and multifaceted, no. The historical connection between English and Greece, so there is no historical connection. It is basically the threat English poses to linguistic diversity. So it says that killer language means it is going to suppress other languages. So that is the answer to this question. Okay, so here's the next passage. Read the passage and then answer the questions to this passage. The passage says, for 40 years I was an editor mostly of magazines, including this one. Okay, so maybe this article is taken from a magazine and the author was an article of this, or was an editor of that magazine. Okay, as an editor and as a reader, I found the story of how creators create irresistible. Okay, I write that these stories had a classic structure to them, each inherently dramatic, starting with nothing and ending with something. When I quit my magazine job, I decided to try my hand as an artist. So the author says that he or she, will get to know later if it is ever mentioned, that the author says that they are the editors have a special ability. They create classic structure to the stories, right? They make stories dramatic, they start with nothing and ending with something. So basically it is focusing on the special ability of editors of magazines. Okay, so that's what is mentioned, and for 40 years the author was an editor. Now once the author retired or left that magazine job, the author decided to try to become an artist. It wasn't entirely abrupt. In my work, I always found it satisfying telling stories in photographs and graphics and drawings, and in spare moments, a whim at first, I picked up a paintbrush to try making image myself. So it was not something that an abrupt decision. It was not that the author was starting it for the very first time. So the author was always like, the author was as a magazine editor. So the author used to use photographs, graphics to tell the stories. So when you are an editor, it is not just text in the magazine, right? You put photographs, you put images, etc. So the author was concerned with art, okay, then appreciated art, graphics, drawings, etc. And in the free time, the author used to make paintings, okay. When I left job, I began to paint more seriously. That was the beginning of my torment. I wasn't just very good. So till that time, author was a part-time, like just as a hobby. Maybe few times the author painted, but after that, the author tried to paint more seriously after the author left the job, right? So that was given that background, that how the author transitioned from an editor to a painter. It says decent paintings sometimes emerged, but they were seen almost by accident. So sometimes the author created decent paintings, but believed that they were just excellent. That was just an accidental creation, and they were accidents I couldn't necessarily recreate. Now, if they try to recreate those paintings, it was difficult to recreate them. I was conservative. If one part of a painting showed promise, I would protect it and put the rest of the painting at risk. Sometimes I could get something going and then tentatively feel emboldened to try something new and then fall back, and that would scare me, so I would retreat to what I knew, which meant resuming the the bad habits. I got frustrated easily and gave up easily, never knowing when to preserve or surrender. You can see that these are all problems, more of the head than of the hand. Basically, it all seemed impossible. So the author, like if you read this passage, this particular paragraph, it tells that the author was quite skeptical about their paintings. Okay, so at like the painting looked promising, then it went to some other tangent. So the author believed that sometimes the author felt like this painting looks good, but the later part went bad. Okay, then decided that I could get something going and then feel emboldened to try something new. So sometimes the author wanted to try something new, but felt that the previous thing was good. So there was a dilemma that whether the painting is good or bad, right? So it was, so the author believed that it was something of the head, right? It said that these are all problems more of the head than of the hand. So basically what it means is, as an artist, it was not this issue, the issue of whether the painting is good or bad was in her head, not in her hand. So skill wise it was not the problem. Skill wise it was fine, but it was the conflict in the mind that whether this painting is good or bad, that was the main problem while she was painting. When I was at the most exasperated, I found myself asking the same question I had asked an editor: how does anybody make art? So she would ask that how would anyone make art? Only now my professional interest has become personal. The problems I am describing were ones of editorial self-scrutiny. Editing is deliberating, choosing a word or thought, dismissing or advancing, evaluating. It's what I did for my career, and it's also an essential part of artistic decision making, but it can be brutal. So as an editor, you evaluate things, each and every sentence. Let's say you are a magazine editor and someone has given you the article, so you would evaluate each of the sentences, right? So like the same way, the author has now become quite evaluative about the paintings that he or she is creating, right? So that is the inherent quality of editor is being reflected in the author right now. So basically what it says is, like, the author is quite choosy about the paintings, whether it is a good painting or a bad painting. What is the role of editor? To evaluate the things and choose the best one, remove the bad parts. Okay, so the same is happening with her here, that the author is confusion, that what is right, what is wrong, and picking things. So it says that choosing a word or a thought. So similarly in this, you have to choose a word or a thought. So you have to choose whether this painting is worth moving ahead or dismissing it, right? So you advance or dismiss. So you say that okay, we do not like it, remove it. So but in painting, you are all at this dilemma whether to choose this part or not. It's so it says that what I did for the career. Now it says artists use the phrase often to talk about the stage after the imagination has vomited and before the hardcore skills based crafting can begin. So they talk about the stage when the imagination has vomited. So imagination has vomited. What does this phrase would mean? Imagination has vomited means imagination has given out something which is quite random. Okay, the artist's imagination is very random. That's what you know, right? Like artist's imagination, it can be anything. So vomit means something which is you would say that unpleasant, or could be something messy. Okay, can begin run amok as if I had an overeager immune system that was sabotaging me. Then I came across a monograph about the figurative artist Eric Fisher and this passage in which he describes the making of one of his more famous paintings called Bad Boy. Now the author was always skeptical about the paintings and said that it was an accident. Okay, like sometimes the author would start a painting, would feel that whether it is good or bad. Then the author came across a monograph about a famous artist Eric Fisher, and he describes making one of his more famous paintings. So what did he find in that? It says, reading this account I felt some of my torture starting to lift. So now the author felt at ease, right? Earlier the author was always in the dilemma that whether the painting is drawing is good or bad, right? Whether it is worth evaluating, proceeding or not. Now I appreciated Fisher's willingness to allow me into his mind as he stumbled through the work. His struggle was comforting and illuminating. It gave me the beginnings of an idea. When artists speak, they generally focus on what their work means. Okay, so when artists speak means when they, like, not only the literal meaning of speaking, so when they delivered something, they focus on what their work means. They think up a spell they can repeat over and over, and I guess it is what most people want to hear. My curiosity is earthbound. Where do they begin and what do they do next, and when do they know they are finished, and more crucially, what do they do when they lose faith? Do they lose faith? So the author ends up with questions on this paragraph. Okay, so it says that like the author came to know that when they speak, they generally focus on what their work means. So they try to create something and they want to repeat it. So they think of a spell they can repeat over and over, and I guess it's what most people want to hear. So most of the artists want to repeat the same thing, right? What they to portray them as a particular kind of artist. So that's what this passage talks about. So let us look at the questions. Maybe the passage is tough to understand, tough to digest. Okay, but maybe the questions would make things simple. So let's see this. The author compares the editorial process to artistic creation to highlight the importance of what? The author is comparing editorial process and artistic creation. So where does it compare? It talks about this thing. When it talks about the third paragraph, it says that same question asked as an editor, right? And it talks about like editing is deliberating, choosing a word or thought, dismissing or advancing, etc. Okay, so the author is comparing editing with arts. So what is it highlighting? Attention to detail, critical thinking skills, ability to meet deadlines, collaboration with others. Now these are out of scope. Like nowhere it talks about ability to meet deadlines or collaboration with others. We look at, instead of attention to details, like one is attention to detail, right? One, okay, might look that attention to detail because the author has to choose a word or thought, etc. Okay, it is more of critical thinking skills. Okay, so you need to be like it says that artistic decision making. Okay, so like it says that before this craft begins, one has to have imagination. Okay, so it talks about the critical thinking skills. You have to evaluate critically how is this going to impact. Like how, let's say if you are an editor, how is the article that you are publishing going to impact the people? If you are an artist, how people are going to perceive your art. So that's what the author is talking about, that it is the critical thinking skills that is required in both these fields. What does the author hope to learn from artists discussing their creative process? the meaning and symbolism behind their work, the specific techniques and tools they use, how do they overcome creative roadblocks and self-doubt, the inspiration behind their most famous pieces. Okay, so now if you look at this, the last paragraph, it says that when does this like if you look at the last lines, where do they begin, what do they know, when do they know when they are finished, right? So it talks about, do they lose faith, what do they do when they lose faith. Now this person also, when it reads, it says that like monograph about this artist. Reading this account, I felt some of my torture starting to lift. So the author had some torture, right, some speculations about being an artist. The author was skeptical that whether as an artist he or she was a good artist or a bad artist. But now this now it talks about the struggles of the artist. So basically it is not about the meaning and symbolism behind their work. No, it is not talking about the meaning behind their work, right? What does their work mean? That is not mentioned. Specific technique, no, it is not mentioned. How they overcome creative roadblocks and self-doubt. The inspiration, so inspiration is not mentioned. It is talking about that how they overcome creative roadblocks and self-doubt. It says that what do they do when they lose faith. Okay, so that's a self-doubt, right? You lose faith in yourself, that means you have self-doubt. So what do they do to overcome this, right? So it talks about that the author had self-doubt and that torture starting to lift. So this talks about that how did it the author, while reading this this monograph by Eric, came to know that how do they overcome this self-doubt. How it says that, it also says that beginnings of an idea, when artists speak, they generally focus what their work means. They think a spell they can repeat over and over. Okay, so that's how they overcome their creative self-doubts. Okay, so that's what the author is hoping to learn from these artists. By stating, artists use the phrase often to talk about the stage after the imagination has vomited and before the hardcore skills based crafting can begin. The author implies that the initial creative process is what? So it says that artists use the phrase often to talk about a stage after the imagination has vomited. So imagination has vomited means initially the author, the artist will have some imagination. Based on that imagination, the skills comes later, right? First is imagination, then imagination followed by hardcore skills. Okay, skills based crafting. So skills come later, imagination, and then it is skill, right? So let's see this. A messy and chaotic exploration of ideas and possibilities, a meticulous and controlled exercise in technical execution, a clear and linear progression from concept to finished artwork, a solely intellectual endeavor devoid of emotional investment. Okay, intellectual endeavor, emotional investment, not something that aligns with the lines of the passage. Clear and linear progression from concept to finished work. Now if you look at this word vomited, right, in general it means that something that you that's vomit, it's not considered as a positive annotation. So you can use the connotation of the word. Vomit would go with what, right? Meticulous, clear, messy. So usually vomit would go with a messy thing. Okay, so like you can use the connotation of this word, right? So basically it says that initially you have chaotic exploration, you generate ideas. Okay, so ideas, the imagination can be anything, right? And then then you basically use the skills later. So first of all you come up with some random idea and then use your skills. So messy and chaotic exploration of ideas and possibilities. Okay, meticulously means carefully you choose the painting and draw it. Meticulous and controlled exercise. So you are not choosing the painting. A clear and linear progression from concept to finished artwork. So there is no, it does not say that you have a clear cut idea that what are you are going to draw. So it is about the imagination, that can be any wild imagination, and it can be messy and chaotic exploration, and then you you have some ideas starting, and then you use the possibilities and then you use your skills to improve on that. So that is the answer to this question. The author's skepticism towards artists focusing on the meaning of their work suggests a belief that artistic value lies primarily in the technical mastery and skill displayed in the creation process, the unique and authentic experience of the art during creation, the intellectual complexity and hidden symbolism embedded within, the emotional impact and personal connection it evokes in the viewer. So it says that the author is skeptical towards artists focusing on the meaning of their work. Okay, so why do they work on the meaning of their work? Why does the author think that they work on the meaning? The technical mastery and skill displayed, it is not that technical mastery. So artists are already technically sound, right? So it talks about the meaning of their work. So they try to create meaningful paintings. The reason is not about the technical mastery, the unique and authentic experience of the artist during creation. This is the artists create things, but it is not about. Let's evaluate other options also. The intellectual complexity and hidden symbolism embedded within. It says that focus on the work. Intellectual complexity. So usually that it says that it says that the decent paintings emerged, they were almost by accident. So it mainly talks about that the paintings were accidental. Okay, so if you look at this line, so it says that basically the author is saying that the things were accidental. It was not a deliberate one. Okay, so it also does not sound so good. Let's look at the fourth option. It says that the emotional impact and personal connection evokes in the viewer. Okay, now if you see this, the author creates, like, what is the author basically doing? The author is criticizing artists who focus on explaining their work. Okay, so it says that, like, primarily it is criticizing the artist because they start evaluating their work. So it says that the person is self scrutiny, so you are scrutinizing your own work, right? So it says that the actual meaning lies that it says that the meaning of the work should not be in their imagination, instead it should be how the viewer perceives it, isn't it? So that's in the passage the author is criticizing. Okay, so it says that the passage does not talk about technical mastery. So it says that it is not focusing on the technical mastery. Okay, the author says that the artists generally have technical mastery. Okay, it is not on the artist's experience, the unique and authentic experience of artists during the creation. That is not on. It is said that the passage is criticizing artists. They are concerned about explaining their work. Okay, so it says in the last paragraph, if you see, when artists speak, they generally focus on what their work means. Okay, they think of a spiel they can repeat over and over, and I guess it's what most people want to hear. So basically they justify their work. So the passage is saying that the author is criticizing this part, that they try to focus on what they create, but instead they should basically focus on what the viewers want to see. Okay, so this would be the right choice. The emotional impact and personal connection it evokes in the viewer. So it is skeptic towards artists focusing on the meaning of their work. Okay, so the author is skeptical about this thing. So it should not be that experience of artists during creation. Instead, the focus should be on the viewer, that how does a viewer perceive your piece of art. So I hope you are enjoying this session. So please don't forget to like this video. Let's move on to the next passage. This talks about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy who was assassinated in the 1960s. So it says that 6 decades have passed since President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas by rifle shots fired by Lee Harvey Oswald, a one-time defector in the Soviet Union, self-described Marxist and admirer of Fidel Castro, but also a nut and a loser, according to some who knew him. The event stunned the nation and disrupted complacent assumptions about the stability of the American order. The assassin, no matter his purposes, delivered a blow to the American spirit with disorienting effects that linger today. So it talks about that 6 debates have passed since this incident, in which this person, Lee Harvey Oswald, so he was like a Soviet guy and he was a Marxist, so difference in ideologies with the US. Okay, so he assassinated him. The evidence pointing to Oswald was close to the irrefutable and was summarized in the Warren Commission report on the assassination and the exhaustive studies later conducted by these people. The 2 bullets that hit President Kennedy were traced to Oswald's rifle, which were discovered along with 3 spent shells on the 6th floor of the warehouse where he worked and where he was seen moments before the shooting. Oswald left his palm print on the rifle and his fingerprints on various items around the sniper's nest. Witness on the street saw a man firing shots from a 6th floor window in that building and gave police officers the description that circulated over the radios. So it talks about basically the evidence. इसमें इस पैसेज में इस पैराग्राफ में पूरा एविडेंस दिया that how this person Oswald was the killer. Oswald escaped from the building before authorities could seal it off and then fled to another section of the city where he retrieved a pistol from his rooming house before setting out on foot toward an unknown destination. A police officer heard the description of the assassin on his radio, approached Oswald to question him about the shooting downtown. Oswald fired 4 shots at Tippett, and as he stepped from his squad car with several witnesses looking on, the shots killed the officer instantly. So this person ran away, and then when the police officer approached him, he killed that police officer as well. Oswald raced away to a nearby movie theater where the police soon captured him with the pistol still in his possession. Despite this evidence, Americans never accepted the verdict that Oswald was the assassin or that he acted on his own in shooting Kennedy. Public opinion polls taken as early as 1964 revealed that a clear majority of the Americans believed the assassination was orchestrated by a conspiracy of some kind. So it says that although there is complete evidence, like 2 paragraphs giving the story, what happened in that story. So it's a historical context that how John F. Kennedy was killed, like 6th floor se mara tha, and his fingerprints were there, and then the policeman tried to catch him and he killed that as well. So everything is given in the historical context, but Americans never accept this verdict. Okay, so like they believe that there is some conspiracy. So there are a lot of conspiracy theories, right? Everywhere, like especially with assassinations, you have conspiracy theories that this is not true, facts are being misrepresented. That happens several times, right? So it says that conspiracy of some kind. Doubts about Oswald's role and accuracy of the Warren report provoked a steady stream of books, newspapers and articles and popular movies on the assassination. So there were a lot of media outflow on this, movies, books and magazines covered with this. It says that many of them arguing for a conspiracy arranged by the CIA, FBI, organized crime or right-wing businessmen. So it says that there is a conspiracy theory also which says that it is possibly the work of these agencies, okay, or these businessmen. The evidence to support these claims was always thin and speculative at best. That never seemed to matter. Many believed them anyway. So the evidence that they present for these conspiracy theories are thin. So this evidence is strong. Here this Oswald theory is strong and this is thin, right? Thin evidence, but still people believe it, right? So even if there is like if you try to believe in something, even if there is less evidence, you believe on it. So people still believe on it. That's what it tries to say. Those theories remain in the wide circulation today. Why after 6 decades does the Kennedy assassination still provoke so much controversy and disagreement? Why does every notable anniversary bring forth more books, articles, movies and television programs recalling the assassination or promoting some new angle to on the event? The answers may be found in 2 defining public issues of the time: and in efforts by American leaders along with the Kennedy family to interpret the assassination with the context of civil rights movement but in opposition to the facts of the case. So there was some civil rights movement going on that time. So that is why every time like this anniversary comes, people start talking about this conspiracy theory, right? People say that it was a conspiracy by CIA, FBI, combined conspiracy by them. Many people still do not believe that Oswald killed John F. Kennedy. So that's the gist of the passage, easy passage to understand, unlike the previous one. So the first question is, the passage implies that the public skepticism about the assassination stems from a rejection of. So what does this what is it, what are these people rejecting? So if they talk about the skepticism, they are skeptical, so they are rejecting basically the official things. So officially, what is the official declaration of this? That Oswald killed John F. Kennedy. So they are rejecting official narrative. That is the official narrative, right? This is the official narrative that like Lee Henry Oswald was the killer. That is the official narrative. So that was summarized in this Warren Commission report. Okay, and also in the studies like that came after. Okay, so that they are people, they reject this official narrative when they are skeptical about this theory. The passage suggests a potential consequence of public's rejection of the official narrative about the JFK assassination. Which of the following is the most likely consequence based on the passage? So this is in fact an easy one, right? If you look at the facts given in the passage, only one of these will match. A decline in trust in American institution, and then it says a renewed interest in Cold War history. So it does not talk about the renewed interest. Okay? The renewed interest ki baat ho rahi hai? No, it is not saying that there was a new interest generated. Re-evaluation of gun control legislation, not mentioned anywhere. Reassessment of Kennedy's family legacy, right? So not all these are out of scope. So this clearly becomes the answer. Decline in trust in American institutions. So it says that the conspiracy theory, it is focusing on these agencies. So it has a decrease in trust on these institutions. That is why this theory is there of the conspiracy theory of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The passage mentions witness accounts placing Oswald at the scene of the crime. How does the inclusion of this detail most contribute to the overall argument of the passage? Okay, so how does this the witness account is placed in for Oswald? Okay, so how does this include the overall argument of the passage? It strengthens the case against Oswald by providing independent verification. It does. Okay, it highlights the limitations of eyewitness testimony in high pressure situations. It does not highlight the limitations. It demonstrates the effectiveness of law enforcement in apprehending the suspect. Effectiveness of law enforcement, not exactly affecting the effectiveness. It introduces the possibility of manipulation of error in the official narrative. Now, see, the question would, like if you read the question, you would say that the author mentions placing Oswald at the scene of the crime. Okay, so what does it suggest? Like it would strengthen the case. Usually it would strengthen the case, right? If you talk about that the person is present at the scene of the crime, this is basically strengthening the case. Now this is a difficult question. If you evaluate this question objectively, read the complete question. It says the inclusion of this detail most contribute to the overall argument of the passage. What is overall argument? See, it is comparing two things, right? It is talking about the official theory, and it also highlights the conspiracy theory. The passage talks about both these things. The author talks about conspiracy and also about the official theory. Okay, so the overall argument, when you talk about the overall argument, it talks of both these theories. The author is not of the opinion that it is the official theory is correct. See, in this it's a compare and contrast, like we discussed in the previous class that some passages are compare and contrast, wherein you compare two things and contrast two things. Okay, so it talks about two theories. One is the conspiracy theory, one is the official theory. The author is not inclined to any of these. The author is equivocal, right? Author does not say that conspiracy theory fake है या फिर जो witness वाली theory that is fake, right? The author is not supporting any of these. So it basically overall argument says that either of the things is possible, right? Either conspiracy was there or official theory is correct. So it introduces the possibility of manipulation of error in the official narrative. So when it presents this witness thing, so there is a possibility that it could have been the official narrative could have been see, otherwise if the witness is presented, that means the case against Oswald like it will be true, isn't it? So it will strengthen the case, but there is a possibility of conspiracy theory also. So why do these people believe in the conspiracy theory? They say that it must have been some manipulation of the facts, and as a result this conspiracy theory evolves, right? If the case was strong, right, then people would not believe in the conspiracy theory. So people believe in the conspiracy theory because they believe that there is manipulation in the official narrative. So official narrative, the passage later says that Americans never accepted this verdict, and there are many people they believe in this conspiracy theory, right, despite this evidence. So that means that even if, like, see, if the evidence was there, then it would have strengthened the case, but even this, because of this despite this evidence, people still believe in the conspiracy theory. So this basically introduces that there is a possibility of manipulation. It is not saying that it was manipulated. It talks about a possibility of manipulation. So it was a tough one. It says that is overall argument. So overall argument means it talks about both these possibility of both the theories. So this case could be deliberately made to manipulate the official narrative. The tone of the passage concerning the JFK assassination can best be described as solemn and respectful, focusing on the historical significance. No, it is like 50-50, right? It is saying that both possibilities are there. Objective and neutral, presenting the facts without judgment. Skeptical and critical, questioning the official narrative and public acceptance. So it is skeptical and critical. So it is skeptical about this theory, like it says that the Americans still believe that it was a conspiracy theory. So they are still skeptical about it. Okay, so they question the official narrative and public acceptance. So both are speculations, and hence the tone would be skeptical one. Here's the next passage. It talks about Nobel Prize in Economics. So related to economics. Read the passage and then answer the questions. It says a Nobel Prize in economics implies that the human world operates much like the physical world, that it can be described and understood in neutral terms, and that it lends itself to modeling like chemical reactions or the movement of stars. It creates the impression that economists are not in the business of constructing inherently imperfect theories, but of discovering limitless truths. So basically this paragraph tells that economics is like science. So it says that Nobel Prize in Economics, it is like science, wherein you have physics and chemistry, you have formulae. So economics is also it has certain theories which are imperfect theories, and it operates much like the physical world. Okay, so it can be described in terms of some mathematical relations, etc. To illustrate just how dangerous that kind of belief can be, only need to consider the fate of long-term capital management, a hedge fund set up by, among others, the economists Myron Scholes and Robert Merton in 1994. With their work on derivatives, these two seem to have hit on a formula that yielded a safe but lucrative trading strategy. In 1997, they were awarded the Nobel Prize. So these two people, Scholes and Merton, they were awarded Nobel Prize. A year later, long-term capital management lost $4.6 billion in less than 4 months. A bailout was required to avert the threat of the global financial system. Okay, so it says that economics is not real. I mean, these are just theories which fail also. So it gives an example that how economic theories fail. So it talks about economic theory failures. So these are theoretical things, and practically if you see the Nobel Prize winners, they failed. Okay, Nobel Prize winners. So it talks about this market, it seems, didn't always behave like scientific models. So it says that markets don't behave like scientific models. Okay, scientific models are different, economic models are different. In the decade that followed, the same overconfidence in the power of wisdom of financial models bred a disaster culture of complacency, ending in 2008 crash. Why should bankers ask themselves a lucrative new complex financial product is safe when the models tell them it is? Why give regulators real power when models can do their work for them? So it says that the economic models have failed in the past. That's the evidence given here. Many economists seem to have come think of their field of scientific terms a body of incrementally growing objective knowledge. Over the past decades, mainstream economics in universities has become increasingly mathematical. So economics has become mathematical, focusing on complex statistical analysis and modeling to the detriment of observation of reality. So basically, it focuses on the math part, right? So it focuses on theory. That's what the author is saying, that focus on theory, not reality. That's what economics is about, as per the author. Okay, the focus of economics is on theory but not on reality. Then it says, consider a throwaway line from this. Who is to blame? There is lack of real life research on trading flows themselves. To which one might say, well, yes, so about doing something about that after Europe located a stone's throw away from the banks that blew up. All those banks have structured products approval committees where a team of banking staff sits down to decide whether their bank should adopt a particular new complex financial product. If economics were a social science like sociology or anthropology, practitioners would set about interviewing those committee members, scrutinizing their meetings minutes and trying to observe as many meetings as possible. That is how the kind of fieldwork based qualitative social sciences, which economics likely to discard as soft and unscientific, operate. So basically the passage is saying that the economics is about a scientific approach. Okay? The passage is primarily saying that economics is a scientific approach and which is often failing, and we have seen a lot of examples of this. So economics is treated as a scientific approach, not taken as a like it is quantitative in nature but not qualitative in nature. That's what the passage is talking about. That's the gist of the passage. Right, if you read further, it says that it is true that this approach too comes with serious methodological caveats such as verifiability, selection bias or observed bias. The difference is that the other social sciences are open about these limitations, arguing that while human knowledge about humans is fundamentally different from human knowledge about the natural world, those imperfect observations are extremely important to make. So basically it says that like there is like in these social sciences there may be some issues because there is observer bias, selection bias, but still that other social sciences are open about the limitations. Economics is not, unlike other social sciences, economics is more on quantitative approach rather than being qualitative. So the first question says the primary argument of the passage is that economics should. So what is the primary concept that the author presents in the passage? So it says the author most focus more on complex mathematical models. So it is already using mathematical models, right? So it does not say that you focus more on mathematical models for accurate results. Then next says be recognized as a social science incorporating qualitative research methods. It never says that it is not recognized as a social science. Okay, so it is also not there. Abandon the pursuit of timeless truths and acknowledge the limitations of its theories. So it says that other social sciences are open about these limitations. So economics is not acknowledging the limitations of its theories, right? So economic theories are there which are mathematical theories, right, statistical theories, but they lack the social science aspect. Like it says that here it says that it lacks the qualitative aspect. So they should be timeless truth. Why does it use the word timeless truth? So timeless truth, like if you talk about science is a timeless truth, right? So it is applicable every time, it is universal. But economic theories may not work every time, right? It is not like science that theories will work every time. It has given the evidence that how economics has failed. Prioritize fieldwork and observation over abstract status. It is not saying that you need to prioritize fieldwork. So it is not saying that it has to be prioritization, although it is also a good point that the fieldwork part is missing, but it is not talking about the prioritization of it. Instead it says that they should acknowledge the limitations of the theories. Okay, it says that economics is fine, but its theories are limited, right? So it is not a perfect science. So that's what the answer is. It should be that it should abandon the pursuit of timeless truth and acknowledge the limitations of its theories. The passage uses the example of long-term capital management to illustrate the dangers of. So long-term capital management is mentioned here. So it says that it failed. Okay, so it failed badly, and there were this Myron Scholes and Robert Merton. They were Nobel Prize winners. Despite that, it failed. So it says relying solely on the expertise of Nobel laureates, ignoring the dynamic and unpredictable nature of markets, utilizing complex financial products without proper scrutiny, basing investment decisions solely on mathematical models. So it says that, see, it talks about like relying on these two people. It says that the issue was they heavily relied on these two people. The fund was, they were thinking that these are Nobel laureates, so this theory cannot go wrong, right? So that's what it talks about, like relying solely on expertise of Nobel laureates. The passage compares the approach of mainstream economics to sociology and anthropology in order to do what? So the passage compares approach of mainstream economics in sociology and. So why does the author present these two fields of science? Like why does the author present these two fields here? So it presents in this in the previous question. I think the answer should not be A, because it is too generic. Okay, it is too generic. It is not talking only about the Nobel laureates. It is like, if I look at this answer, it is not only on Nobel laureates, ignoring the dynamic and unpredictable nature of markets, utilizing complex financial products without proper scrutiny. That again comes back to this thing, basing investment decisions solely on mathematical models. So it looks more like it says that the fact is that this was had Nobel laureates. The passage focuses on, like, it talks about the mathematical. See, it says that how dangerous this kind of belief can be. Okay, what is belief? Belief here is that mathematically imperfect theories. Okay. So it says that it has imperfect theories. So it basically has mathematical models, and so that is the danger that is mentioned here, right? So it says that basing investment decisions solely on mathematical models, because the line before it says that how dangerous that kind of belief can be. What kind of belief? Belief on mathematical theories, like it is mathematical modeling, like chemical reactions or movement of stars. So these economics has become a mathematical model. So this is a too generic, like these are a trap option. Okay, usually sometimes we get answers wrong because of such trap options. So initially I felt that this should have been the answer, but the right answer is this one. Okay, next one, the passage compares the approach of mainstream economics and sociology. So sociology and anthropology have been mentioned. Where it does the author mention these? It talks about, in the last paragraph, somewhere this, if economics were a social science, practitioners would set about interviewing those committee members, scrutinizing the meetings minutes, and trying to observe as many meetings as possible. So basically here the author is talking about, like it highlights that importance, so that there is human touch to it, right? It talks about that it is missing the qualitative part, it is just the quantitative part. Okay, so if you look about this, what is sociology and anthropology? It involves people, right? It says that practitioners would set about interviewing those committee members, so it brings the human aspect. Okay, so that is human behavior in these economic contexts. Okay, historical context is not mentioned anywhere. Superiority of qualitative research, it is not saying that it is superior, qualitative research methods are superior, or increased collaboration between these people. No, it talks about the value of studying human behavior. So it says that we are studying scientific models but ignoring the human aspect of economics. So if economics were studied like these two subjects, then we would have a better approach to economics. The passage implies a potential consequence of economic models being solely focused on mathematical analysis and prediction. What is the most likely consequence of this focus? So the passage is primarily, it talks about that how economic models are solely focused on mathematical analysis. So we need to tell what is the consequence of this thing. Okay, so let's look at the options. The first option says that increased government intervention in financial markets, nowhere mentioned. Disconnect between economic theories and real world market behavior, that's what something is talking about, that economic theories say different things and real world functions differently. A decline in the overall complexity of financial products, it does not talk about the decline in complexity. A renewed interest in economic history and past financial crisis, it talks about the potential consequences of economic models being solely focused. So the sole focus does not renew interest in economic history, it does not lead to the decline in the overall complexity. It basically talks about that there is a disconnect between economic theories and real world market behavior. So basically this passage talks about that economics is inclined toward mathematics. Okay, it is quantitative in nature and it misses qualitative aspect. That is why what is presented in the theories, economic theories, there is a mismatch between real market behavior, because it just focuses on the mathematics part of economics, the theories. So that's what it talks about, the disconnect between these two aspects. Okay, so this was today's session on RCs, and we did RCs based on social sciences, including history, arts, economics, culture, etc. So in case you are preparing for CAT and other MBA entrance examinations and are looking for mock tests for the same, we have mocks for CAT as well as a bundle for CAT and other MBA entrance tests. So CAT mocks, in the CAT mocks you will be getting 15 full length mocks plus 10 sectionals each. Okay, and we will also be launching mocks for different MBA entrance examinations. So in case you wish to enroll in it, you can check out the link given in the description of this video, and you can get 20% off this month if you enroll in the same. So we are yet to launch most of these mocks. We have just launched the CAT, we have started the CAT series and launched NMAT mocks. As in the exams are announced, we will be launching mocks for all these exams. And if you want to get the PDF of this class, do join our Telegram group. And I hope you have been enjoying this series. We have covered more than half of the series. Other 14 videos are still left. So 2 more weeks of this series, and I believe that this series is going to be a crucial one in your CAT preparation, and this must have helped you immensely in all the 3 sections. So please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you have not already subscribed. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day. Goodbye.